Hi everybody. I've been away for a few days, a few weeks actually. I've been in Scotland doing a remote viewing course, which has blown me away. It's been a real eye-opener. What I want to do today is to share with you my observations on the course, how the course went, how it was structured somewhat, just very briefly, and how I think it influences how you get messages about things that you can't see, because remote viewing is viewing something in your mind that isn't in front of your eyes, whether it is somebody who's missing. We didn't do that type of thing. What we did was we were given coordinates, so a bunch of numbers that you write down on a piece of paper, and there's an image that's inside an envelope and sealed, and you don't see the image till you have finished. What I'll do is I'm going to go to my iPad. I'm going to run through a few things with you, and it's very difficult because sometimes when you tell people your dreams, they almost like shut off, and I don't want to go down that view or down that road, but I want you to be able to see whether it's something that you may want to do. And I think probably the most important thing to me is the way that the course was so structured that it didn't give you enough time to start feeding in too much imagination. It's like, got an image, got a sense of something, write it down, onto the next thing, and then to the next thing. So you're not just sitting there going a little bit sort of, your conscious mind isn't coming in. That's what's interested me more than anything. And one thing before I start looking at it, the biggest bugbear of the whole event, and I could see it in myself and I could see it in everybody else, is that the moment that you start thinking consciously or you get your ego involved, you're just dead. You're just dead in the water. You can see everybody thinking, this sounds really stupid, I can't say it. And it will be the thing that you didn't write down that was actually right. And you can see people who, I don't think I was too bad at this bit, but almost like second guessing themselves all the time, as if they're waiting like for a trumpet from God to tell them what it was, rather than just trusting themselves. And you go real ups and downs where you get something totally wrong, and you just feel that perhaps I just wasted my money doing this. And then the next day you get something that is half, and then next day you get something that blows your socks off. It's a journey, and I've only done a week of practicing on my own. Unfortunately for my sister, who came up to travel the second week, we should be sharing bed and breakfasts around Scotland, and you have to go through the protocol or the sections talking aloud. I think she'd had enough of me by that time. But what I'll do is I'll go through it. Hi there, I hope this is recording. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my first week's practice with remote viewing, and what I'm not trying to do, and I think this is the biggest trap, is trying to prove that it works, or trying to prove that I've got it on site, or I've got the topic. What I want to do, and for myself as well, is to try and explain how we translate information that I think that we gather. It's not in our brains, it's from outsiders, and we just sort of channel it in. And how does that happen? And how we use past memories possibly, or we translate it through our own personalities or mindset. That is the most fascinating thing. So what I'm going to do with the first one is I'm going to go through it a little bit more slowly, how it's structured, and then I'm going to go through two very quick, like a page, just to show you how information comes to us, how I think it does, and we're all going to be slightly different. At the bottom of the page, I've never done scanning before, page assist, I don't know if you can see it, but I can't read the bottom of the page. I'm just going to leave it as that because I'm just going to pick out highlights. So when you're going through this, you've got to start off with your name here, where you are. This is like nowhere in Scotland. It's like on the coast in the middle of nowhere, right at the north. And this is the person that's monitoring me. So she gives me the coordinates, which are here. And that's all I start off with. Before you start, that's the stage of the practice. And this is advanced perception. So is there anything you perceive before you start, before you're given the coordinates? Because that's all you're given. And I've written here, I had like an image of the sea. So PI is personal inclemencies, which means
do you need a wee? It's that type of thing. Is there something that you're thinking about or that makes you uncomfortable? It may be affecting the process. This is my first week, so if people have done remote viewing, please excuse me if I've got any of this wrong. This is what I think at the moment. So then you're just given a coordinate, and it can be a series of numbers that come in 2s or 3s, and you have to do the whole process aloud. So you're given the numbers, you basically give the numbers back, you say them aloud, 1 1 2 3 6 6 7 7. You draw an ideogram. Now, I'm not so sure about the ideograms as yet, but the ladies that taught me said that in the Air Force or the Army, in the forces when they started this off, in the US forces, I don't know what forces to be honest, which was during the Cold War to spy on the Russians, I believe, that they did a lot of training on the importance of ideograms. I haven't quite got to the fact that I think this is important to me yet, apart from last night when I did one more. So that's just something you do immediately without thinking, and you can keep looking back at the coordinates and the ideogram to see if you can get any more impressions or thoughts in your head. You describe the line, which I'm not going to go through everything here. Then you draw a line down the side here, and this stands for Advanced Analytical Overlays. So you've got your structure on this side, anything that doesn't fit into that structure, because the whole process is trying to hone you in so you're not going too far off into Fantasy Island, putting too much of your own impressions or thoughts on, which are more imagination, more conscious, I suppose, as well. It's just basically going through it, and I always think, and this is very early thoughts, and it will change, I know this bit, that this section here almost just settles you into the process. Sometimes information you get immediately when you're going into details, I don't find has been as relevant for me as I thought it would be. It changes as you move through. So you've got textures here. So I've got the C so far. Textures, shiny, matte, smooth, plastic-like, bumpy. Major gestalts, which I always spell incorrectly, is it landscape? Is it a structure like a mountain? Is it man-made? Are there energetics like lamps or lights or the sun or a rainbow? I just got there on energetics, and I thought that was really important. I remember that, and it's man-made. So the main things I've got at the moment: energetics, man-made, and the sea. Go through the colours. This is all the sensory perceptions here. So colours, white, grey, metal. The smell is plain air. Brightness, dull and bright. Sounds, click, slide, machinery. Underneath, I don't know if you can see this, and I can't because I've got page assist, which changes the page. I'm sure there's something that's really easy with this. The taste, which I think is here, I said mucus, which is a really bizarre thing to say. And I was explaining to my husband, he's going, mucus? But mucus is, this is not a particularly nice thing to talk. To me, it's like cockles and mussels. It tastes salty and it tastes squishy. And to put that together with a C, this is where my mind's going. So that is basically your first couple of stages. Stage 3 up here is when you move into a little bit more detail. You've still got this. Does anything not fit into this process? Put it on this side if something comes quickly into your mind. Is there movement? Yes. Are there energetics? Yes. I feel this is the, oh gosh, what was this? Something in aesthetic impact, that's what it was. So you're saying this aloud, aesthetic impact. I feel something is productive and being made. And the emotional impact here is the site feels efficient and productive. So you've got the sea, you've got that mucusy feel, you've got a site here that's productive, and then I've got here machinery. I don't quite know what this meant. And as you know from the picture at the beginning, which I should have said actually, is the Alexandria Lighthouse. I don't know if there's anything in lighthouses nowadays that there's some sort of movement with machinery, where it goes backwards and forwards. I know initially that the lighthouse was, and it was more torpedo shaped, which comes into it later, then it was more like this as it went on. But it used to have like a pyre at the top with a fire, and later I got to more, I imagine it was more like the old-fashioned, the new, more updated lighthouses. So anyway, the gestalts, I've just underlined some because they're more important. I don't want to go through all for you. The gestalts appear to be man-made and energetic. Grey and metal. Originally it was sandstone, I think, or concrete. The smells seem to be plain and air-like, brightening and dull. So and the sounds appear to be, I don't know what the sounds are there, or buzzing and electrical. I remember writing it. So then you start summing it up. So this is stage 4. So you're not using the words appear or seem to be anymore, which is just maybe impressions. This is where you start going through, actually saying this is, you walk into the, I've missed that out actually. I haven't missed it out because it only scans a certain number of pages. But what you do after that process is that you actually walk into the area. You're just present, you move around it, you put your hands out physically in the room and you look behind you and what can you see? And so you're going through the process actually being there in it. You know, it's in your mind, and you're reaching out and touching things. So this is the bit here. I move down to the centre into the site and my right hand somehow touches a torpedo-shaped heavy metal structure. And it wasn't metal, I know. You're not going to get it all right. I've got torpedo on this side. It feels heavy and dense, smoother and rounder point at the end. There is light appearing as I move further into the site and straight ahead. It feels more relaxed and expansive the further you move in. I can reach my hand out and move left and right. Expansive lightness, and I feel as if when I crouch down and touch the floor, I can feel moss, warm and green and sponge-like. I want to lie and look upwards. There is movement, energetics at a midway height here on the site here that feels like electricity, fragmented, buzzing, dotted, pixelated like radiation, insects moving as a unit. And in my mind, what I was thinking of was Willy Wonka and Mike TV with the sort of pixelated bits coming outwards. So it felt like energetics, and energetics are the sun. It can be natural, it can be microwave energy, or anything like that. It could be just a light switching on. But that is interesting. And as I move down here, I try to draw it. This is the main object here, and this is the energetics here at midway level. I had no idea at this point there was a lighthouse. Here you're sort of summing it up a little bit with regards to, again, what you feel. I feel annoyance, interfering and disinterest. I don't know what that means. The site feels like it's military. I think that may be site with a landscape. So I think that's because I felt that was metal. I felt it was metal, like energetics. I thought it was possibly some form of, I don't know, energetic beam. The tangibles here. So what is real? Metal, moss, sea, lakes, heavy, man-made structure. Energetics as a complex system. Intangibles, what is the overall idea of it? Industrial, military, energy. So as you're moving forward, you start summing it up again. I'm not going to go all the way through that because we've been through so much. And this is where I keep saying about it's ant-like, it's like hive-like. The energy is like hive-like. I'm just summing it up here again. So these are words that you would have already seen. Yeah, and that's the final bit. Radiation, insects, biologicals. I can hear, this is the hearing bit, I can hear clicking, transmitting. There is metal, electricity transmitted, collecting, concentration, collecting and transmitting. And it was the Alexandria Lighthouse, which moves out this way with, I guess, the energy. So it's really weird that just, I feel like I almost like tiny step my way through that without thinking sideways. There's not a lot of AOL in that. What I'm going to do very quickly now is I'm going to go through some different processes. Yeah, this is a very short one. This the coordinate was given to me the night before. I asked for it the night before. And I thought, because my dreams are always really heavy, as in I see things that haven't happened in my dreams. And I said, give it to me the night before. And so I put a piece of paper, I'm in an Airbnb doing this. I put a piece of paper by the bed and I'm waking up and scribbling, and it's really disturbed sleep because I did it last night and I woke up 3 or 4 times and I'm writing. What I got here, so advanced perceptions here, was image information sent from a higher wise teacher. These are my exact words, to a pupil. And this again is energetically. This was the picture that I drew when I woke up, when I read it, it was like this to this, and there was like energy being sent down. Okay, and then I got what I thought was a circle. And a circle, you know what this is already because the picture's on the other side. It's Christ the Redeemer from Rio de Janeiro. A circle, this could feel like it's stretching it a bit, but I know that, I don't know who the artist is, and I know I should, went to the Pope at the time and was trying to almost like audition or go for a job to paint the ceilings in the Sistine Chapel. I know who it is. I've forgotten his name. And anyway, he drew a circle apparently drew a picture of a circle, and he got the job because that was supposed to be completeness and God. And so it's all, again, his imagery, me here with this imagery, and I don't know if that means anything. Now, this to me felt like a UFO. This feels, again, like, I don't know why I got this to do with what I guess is a statue of Christ. When I'm doing the whole run through, I'm not actually getting the statue, but I'm getting the feeling of it. And when I looked it up afterwards, it was saying that people were reporting, and this is searching afterwards, I know, so it's not as good as it should be, but as I said, it's my first week. People were reporting that because of the energy of the devoutness, I suppose, of the Catholics and Christians that go up to the site, I guess, is that whole place has going to have a very strong energetic stamp. So anyway, so man-made is what I got for the gestalts, airiness and energetics. Colours, I've got metallic greys because I'm here thinking UFO, and you sidestep into that. I put unknown material here. Let's go on here. Movement, yes. Energetics, exclamation mark, yes. It's really, really strong energetics from this side. I feel locked out, I've got here. Now this is interesting. If you start thinking of the actual statue of Christ, and again, this is stretching it, you're just thinking of, okay, sandstone. And I can remember saying, it might be written down here in a minute, bonbons. It feels like a bonbon, which is hard on the inside and dusty on the outside. It's maybe written down in a minute. But here you've got recoiled spring waiting for a fast move. What does that mean? Again, this will seem very sort of, I'm stretching it, but if people keep mentioning all this information about Christ consciousness rather than the Christ, and then it may possibly, and this may be sacrilegious, I don't know, more energetic. I'm not saying Christ didn't exist because I think he did, but the Christ consciousness may be something that is more energetic, that is meant to basically be coming, in like waiting to come, I suppose. That may hit us like a ton of bricks and may change our consciousness. So that again could feel like a bit of a long pull, but I've put here, I feel I need to understand out of my depth scientifically. The site feels scientifically advanced ahead of its time, and you've got the airy space energetics around here with the main structure in the middle. So strong energetic component. I'm not going to read all this for you. I suppose I'm just trying to give you, I've got the strong energetics here, advanced ahead of its time repeated here. The interesting thing is, I lowered myself into this picture because I felt it was really high into this image or this site. And I've got here solid objects, paler and dust-like concrete coming in here, but I still did not have an image of a statue. I had an impression of a very advanced, wise energy. And as I said, that possibly could have been springing into action. So you've got it here again, the structure doesn't look like it, and the energetics around it. So that's how the information comes, basically. That's how it doesn't really make sense, but as I said, it's my first week and I am absolutely obsessed with this. Really, I haven't had anything like this for such a long time. Astrology gives me the same sort of impression, like this is way outside of what I do actually understand, and it is amazing. My sister kept saying, I'm sick of you saying amazing. Let's go to the last one, and this is another quick one. Is it this one? Yeah. The picture will be at the side, is the TWA 800 flight that took off from JFK, which is in New York, isn't it? And there was it crashed and I just got the picture of this crash. And when I saw it after I finished, I thought, oh God, I got all that all wrong. And there was, when I looked into it, it was evidence came up later that it was shot by a missile. So this is my first page, and I'm just going to do this one very quickly. Energetics, yes. Movement, yes. But this information here, you've got planes coming down, and you've got, I feel I'm in unfamiliar territory. It feels threatening to me. So if this flight had just gone off and I suppose it could be threatening and something had exploded in the engine, maybe threatening wouldn't the word I would use, maybe it would be. The site feels on the edge of an attack, like a war zone, and I think that's a different wording to what I would have used if it was something more natural or unfortunate that had happened. I felt Middle East here, and I got Egypt here. The reason why is a long-winded explanation, but this image came into my head from something else I had seen that was in the Middle East and had palm trees on it. So image I had seen before led me to this image, and then I felt myself drawing this plane here. I just drew it. Incoming threat. So yeah, major gestalts seem to be landscape, airiness, man-made structure. That I'm going to leave that there because it's quite a lot of information. What I wanted to do is to show you something I feel like I've just found some mystery. And it's one of those things that are difficult to deliver because it just is difficult to deliver. But it shows us all how, with different protocol that may suit you, may not suit you. This suited me because it stopped my imagination going haywire. It pinned me down to words. And the images came in quite fast. Most of them, it's getting easier the more I do. And it's absolutely blowing my mind that is possible. The lady who taught me was connected or went to a meeting, and it was Lynn McTaggart who wrote The Field, which is that there's everything is going on outside us. We can open ourselves up to get that information, whether it's in history, whether it's in the future, whether it's happened and we just can't see it now, that we all have access to that. And that was used by the American forces during the Cold War initially, and that's where this structure, the stage 1, the stage 2, the ideogram, the summaries, this is where it all came from. So I'm going to leave that there. What I will do is I'll say goodbye in a minute. I'm going to leave you with a little story of the Beatles and how I got to that. I'm going to love you and leave you. Bye.
Okay, I'm back. I hope I explained that okay, and I know you couldn't see the bottom of it, but I hope you got the gist of it, and also how you can get things correct and think you're on the right track and then lose it later on, and vice versa. You've just got to do what you're doing without overthinking it. Let me give you an example before I go of something that I found really interesting with regards to the way that you do get this information. I was doing a coordinate, and what I could see was looking down on what felt like a Mediterranean village with flat roofs, and in between the flat roof like houses there was like roads with white lines in the middle, like we get everywhere, coming here and everywhere, and white lines. I was looking down at it, and on these roads were men dressed with ties and suits on, and when they were just walking, and I put formal, I put business-like, I put ties, I put suits, and I put white lines. And I just ended up trying to summarise it, because you have to concentrate a little bit towards the end, saying, well, this is like Mediterranean village, everybody's going to work, that type of thing. What it actually was a picture of a studio with the Beatles playing in the centre, all wearing suits and ties. And what was the white lines was that the whole stage had really sort of like plastic arrows facing towards the Beatles. Now, a big set that was like plastic arrows coming down from the back and down at the sides. And I saw the white lines, and I saw the men in suits, but you just go down different avenues sometimes. But to summarise what I've got here is, and to help you, is that don't judge too quickly. Let it lead you somewhere else. To wrap this up, I was listening to, I think I'm going to say his name incorrectly, Joe Moneagle or Moneagle or something like that. And he was explaining that in a different way. He said that when you get an image which can look like rubber rings on a pool, and you think, okay, I can see hooped rubber rings on a swimming pool or blown up. And he said that you've got to go into the other sensories before you can come to a conclusion. You've got to go through the whole protocol, really. And he said, what does the water taste like? And if you're saying, oh, it's disgusting, it's like, he's moved on. What does it smell like? And you're thinking, that does not smell like a pool. He's saying it could be sewage work with the same sort of round circles. So you get the images, and then you've really got to try and root a way to find out what's going on. So this has changed my whole view of everything. How we think, how we get images, and how dreams and how our dreams relate to it, but it's just a different way of bringing it to the forefront. And yeah, it's really got me, and I'm doing one every day at the moment. Really, really interesting. It just feels like the beginning of something. So if you're interested in the remote viewing course near you, I would definitely go on it, without doubt. And mine was a 5-day course, so it felt long, but to me, it really was worth it. I don't think anything's fascinated me so as much as this for a long time. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope it helps, and I hope I've been clear. Bye.